Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, tmosso@the1916company.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Reach out to us directly, tmosso@the1916company.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing the Breitling Navitimer B01 Chronograph 43. It's 43 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel, 14.3 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 49 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, the watch wears nicely. Now you realize it's barely 43 millimeters in diameter at the edge of the bezel, the mid case, and the case back. Even less. So this watch doesn't wear like a 43. I've got to be honest, it feels more like a 41. And normally, 43 millimeter watches don't play nicely with my wrist. This one's quite easy. And I would even recommend it for a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference quite easily. It's a tough watch to wear underneath a super tight cuff because the bezel splays out and cantilevers a little bit. Taking a look down the barrel, you can see how much clearance I've got on each side of the lugs. Over the top always exaggerates the spacing of the lugs, the width of the watch across the wrist. So take that one with a grain of salt. Down the barrel is the true angle. The strap is way upscale for a pilot's watch. As you can see, medium rectangular scale alligator leather, semi-gloss and reddish brown. It's got a broad shear cut edge that's been finished and probably painted to close up the raw pores of the material and give it a finished look. We have a contrasting stitch, which is very aviator style, but aviation is generally contrasting stitch and calfskin. The fact that this is gator, a more expensive, longer lasting material, is a real asset. Now you can see there is no perforation on the strap, which is calfskin on the bottom. That's because Breitling uses a crimping system to set the strap in place. This is nice because you don't find yourself at the mercy of holes in the strap. You have infinite adjustability within the length of the strap. All of it tucks in underneath this friction fit clasp, so it's very clean when sized down. There's no need for minder loops, and all the excess length is not flapping in the breeze. It's hidden underneath. The strap gives way to relatively angular and minimalist lugs. Now, the Navitimer, depending on whether you believe it was released in 1952 or 54, nevertheless, it is one of the longest running chronographs in the business, and it is Breitling's icon, the same way the Submariner is the icon of Rolex and the Moonwatch is the icon of Omega. So this is a timepiece that stays fairly close to history because of the importance of the name at Breitling. As a result, you have relatively narrow and vertical case band. You have these minimally beveled, squared-off angular lugs. You have pump-style pushers. There's a Breitling B logo on the crown, which is a push-down. The watch is 30 meters water-resistant. You can see that the knurling for the bezel, which is sharp and easy to grip, it's actually polished outboard and then media blasted in its recesses. We have a very plexi-like sapphire here that's designed to create a little bit of off-axis distortion for nostalgic effect, but make no mistake, it is sapphire. The dial, well, it's said to be silver, but I sense something different. The outer scale, the bezel scale, that's definitely a matte silver opaline. The center is somewhere between ivory and silver. It's darker. It's a little bit like alubeam on an AMG car from Mercedes or Audi Avis silver. It's silver with brawn. And you can see that there is a tonal contrast there. We've got dark registers, so this is a form of panda dial. You can see each register is countersunk. We have luminescence, not a ton, but enough that you will be able to read the watch in the dark. And of course, we've got elements like hacking seconds. So if you pull the crown out, you stop the seconds, you can synchronize the watch to a reference time. There is also a quick set, so you can rapidly cycle the date if you wish to do so. Upscale dial, applique indices, and applique logo. They're not printed features. They are transferred and held on by little feet that sit in the dial. So you have that upscale three-dimensional applied index look. In terms of how the scale works, it's basically there for division and for multiplication. It's really quite simple to explain. So let's say you want to divide 80 by 40. Easy to do. Okay, you just got to keep your decimal places in mind. That could be 80 divided by 40. That could be 8 divided by 40. It could be 80 divided by 4. You have to know what you are dividing. So let's just say it's 80 divided by 40. You go to the index, which is the 10 on the inner scale. You look above it, 2. Very simple. Now, let's say I want to multiply 16 by 3. Okay? Simple enough. I'm going to go find 3. And you can see, sure enough, there's 3, 46, 47, 48, just like that. Very simple to use. Multiplication and division. You can calculate the tip at the restaurant before your friends have even whipped out their iPhones. Now, it does feature a column wheel system for an incredibly snappy and positive feel and sound. The column wheel of the B01 caliber, which you can see right there, is one of the best sounding and feeling column wheels in the business. Now, the watch also has a vertical clutch, which means that the chronograph can start without any jump or stagger, and it always resets perfectly to the index at 12 because there's no play in a vertical clutch. The other nice thing about a vertical clutch is you can leave it running full-time if you wish. There will be no additional wear and tear on the watch. Some people just like the look of a running chronograph. Again, 30 meters water resistant. That is pilot's watch water resistance. This is not a watch you're going to take swimming. Caliber B01 is a Breitling in-house movement originally launched on the Chronomats in 2009. While not designed for display casebacks initially, it turned out to be a really good display caseback movement because it's handsome and it's fairly large. Automatic winding, it has a 70-hour power reserve, a 4 Hz beat rate, 5-position adjustment, a COSC Swiss chronometer, certification, the hacking seconds, and the quick set date. You can see on the regulator the use of Edicron for fine adjustment of beat error and timing. And then we have a micrometric eccentric screw that can be used for even smaller timing adjustments of perhaps 5 seconds per 24 hours. And you can see that they use KIF shock protection, which is something until recently in common with Rolex. KIF tends to be for those who want a more upscale alternative to Inca block. The finishing is mechanical in nature, but handsome. And again, with a 70-hour power reserve, a chronometer, column wheel, and a vertical clutch, this movement has all of the modern standards. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.